I think this book stopped me from going into a reading slump. Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today, I will be talking about Secret Project 1, better known as Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is a fun, charming tale of a girl who is on the journey to find a lost loved one in a very interesting world. I mentioned that I think this stopped me from going into a reading slump because I finished Rhythm of War just before starting this book. And Rhythm of War took a lot out of me. That was a very long book with a lot going on, and it just, I think if I didn't read a book that was as light and fun as this book, I really could have just kind of been burnt out and not really wanted to read. So I'm really glad that I ended up picking this up when I did. And that's interesting because this isn't normally the kind of book I would go for. Like I said, it's very charming, very light, fun, creative. And normally I like something that's a little bit darker, a little bit harder, that kind of thing. But sometimes a book just kind of hits you in the right spot. And it's funny, I actually didn't really enjoy like the first 50% of this book. I thought it was fine. I wasn't really enjoying it. I wasn't super engaged. And I think that is mostly a me thing. But the second half of this book really did pull me out of it. It just was so fun and entertaining and just a good time. So I did end up giving this a 4-star rating. You also might be asking yourself, why are you so late to getting around to this book? And part of that is because I also made this my year of Sanderson. Obviously, this was the year of Sanderson with his secret projects and everything. And I decided that I was going to read all of the Cosmere this year. I've been following this list that I found, I think, on our Cosmere on Reddit. And I have finally gotten around to the point where Tress of the Emerald Sea was on that list. So just a little brief history there of me and the Cosmere. With all of that being said, what is this book about? In this book, we follow Tress, who is a far out villager of an island surrounded by these very strange oceans. They are not oceans like on our world, they are oceans of spores. And they work through air coming up from the bottom of the ocean and, making it act like water. I forget exactly what the fluidization, that's the word I'm looking for. And I thought that was a very interesting concept. But Tress is in love with a prince, and the prince is kind of taken away by his family, and Tress goes on a mission to find and locate her one true love. And that is just kind of the general story of this book. I don't want to get too much into it. I don't want to spoil anything, but that is the general story. It is kind of an adventure, happy-go-lucky, finding the person she cares about story. So let's go ahead and jump into some things that I really liked about this story. And the first one is going to be the world itself and how the world interacts with the magic. So I mentioned that this world is comprised of mostly oceans made of spores using the fluidization of the spores to sail on top of them. And one thing I found interesting is that there are different kinds of spores and different kinds of oceans, and these all kind of correlate to the different moons that surround this planet. And this is the first time in a while, and I think maybe part of it is I have just been so engrossed in some of Sanderson's other series, whether it be Mistborn with Allomancy or in Roshar with Stormlight, that this just felt very new and innovative and different. And obviously it should. There's nothing else like this that we've read in the Cosmere. But getting to go to a new world and just experience like that magic. Sanderson is so good at creating a world where either the magic is super ingrained into society or, just integral to the planet itself. Getting to experience that again in a fresh new way, I didn't realize how much I missed that. And I think that's maybe why Mistborn, the first Mistborn book, is my favorite of all the Mistborn books, because I got to experience that magic for the first time. That's kind of the same feeling I got here. There are different ways that you can interact with the spores and how they interact with you. And obviously there is just all kinds of interesting things that work. You see the use of certain metals to kill spores, to keep people safe while they're on them. It's just kind of, it's so different and interesting. It's that world building that Sanderson is known for that I really enjoyed. And there are some other magical elements that I don't want to get too much into because I feel like they kind of spoil the plot. But there is much more than just spores in the ocean that you have to deal with. They can infect people in other ways that you wouldn't know. And I really enjoyed that. It really started to flesh out this world. Just with the little bit we've gotten here, I really hope this is a planet we come back to because I think there's a lot of interesting things that can be done here with this magic system on this planet. I already just kind of mentioned how like fun and charming it is, and I mentioned that it didn't really work with me in the first half, and once again, I think that's really a me thing that this book was fighting me out of a reading slump. And without all this fun and charm and just how great it was and how fun it was, it was great. There's a crew involved in this book. Tress is just a charm to be around. It's light and it's fun. And it's a little silly. And like I said, I normally don't want that. But in this book, it's just done super, super well. I didn't realize I needed it. I needed a little bit of silly fun. It almost reminded me a little bit of some stuff from Mistborn Era 2, but in a different way. It just felt more cozy, is a really popular word in fantasy right now, and it's not really a thing I look forward to, but this is very much a cozy story in a certain way. And so yeah, the fun aspect of it is a huge positive for this book. Another thing that I really liked is the POV that this story is told through is very different than other stories we have gotten from Sanderson, and I really think that's another thing that set this one apart and made it feel fresh and new. I don't really want to spoil who the point of view is for people who maybe haven't read this yet, but I really enjoyed the person's point of view we got it from, and especially they're not their normal self. And I just kind of enjoyed everything about that, and just, I don't know, it once again fed into the fun, lighthearted aspect of this story. The ending to this book also really worked for me. I kind of thought it would follow a very specific trope, and it didn't. And I really liked that. I liked that we got that subversion of a pretty typical trope. I won't say what it is. Obviously, we're talking about the ending here. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but I really liked the direction it went. It just really fit the vibe of this book, and I feel like that's one thing that will always stick with me with this book, is the vibe, the charm, the fun, the characterness, the characters, that kind of thing. It just worked really well, and the ending is kind of the epitome of it, and I really enjoyed that. You really get to see Tress grow and evolve in this, and the ending is like a culmination of everything, and it was just really great. And I have to mention, there is a lot of Cosmere stuff going on in here that I love. As I've been reading the Cosmere as kind of like one whole collection, this kind of stuff, man, I'm nerding out over it. I'm sure there's a lot I missed. I'm definitely going to go watch some like 17th Shard videos and copper mine it up, now that I have read this, because I'm sure I've missed a lot, and a lot of implications that have gone on in this book. So I really struggled to come up with dislikes for this book. The one thing, and I've said it already throughout this video, is I did find the first part of this a little slow. And once again, I still really do think that is a me issue. I really think that because I was going into a slump and this was dragging me tooth, nail, claw out of that hole, that I was maybe a little bit less willing to give into this book, that it was so different from what I've been reading, that it was such a change that it just wasn't what I didn't know I needed it. And unfortunately, that did make the first half of this book kind of slow, and I was just kind of like, where is this going? What is this story? And eventually it just kind of slapped me across the face and was like, you're going to get over it. You're going to enjoy this story, because it is super, super good. I will say, I guess a negative could be is I don't think this is a good play. I mean, it's hard to say. You could definitely start your Cosmere journey here. You're going to miss out on some stuff. You're going to maybe be a little confused by things, but I think you could if you really wanted to. But maybe some of the Cosmere stuff, I don't know how sensitive people are to the greater Cosmere stuff. If you have no idea what the Cosmere is, there's going to probably be some stuff in here you're just like, wonder what that is, and move on and it not affect you at all. But if you're just like a little bit Cosmere aware, there might be some stuff where you're like, what is going on? So that's always a weird thing for me to judge, because I think it is very, based on an individual level. So I don't know. I guess I would say, yeah, you could read it standalone without any Cosmere knowledge, but also to me, as somebody who's reading it as a Cosmere thing, I think it's kind of important to see some of the Cosmere stuff that's going on in here. But that's just me. I've been very wishy-washy on those kind of recommendations when it comes to Cosmere stuff, and I'm definitely not like a Cosmere scholar, so I'm not the most forward authority on that front. But let me know what you thought of Tress of the Emerald Sea down in the comments below. Did you like it? Is it your favorite of the secret projects? I'm sure most people have already read all of them, so definitely let me know if it is your favorite. And as always, have a good one.